Hello, my name is Clare O'Neil and I'm a level 4 tour guide with Tour Guides and I, and today I'm going to be taking you on a journey around the north coast. So here we are in beautiful Ballycastle, one of my favourite places. Behind me you've got Fairhead. I think the cliffs are about 600 feet high and also known as the Dragonstone Cliffs in Game of Thrones, for any of you who are interested. Just beyond then you can see the Mull of Kintyre and the Isle of Jura and Isle of Islay. And further on my right you've got Rathlin Island, which is pretty close by. And did you know Ballycastle was voted last year by the Sunday Times the best place to live in Northern Ireland? And if you want to know why, well, we'll be telling you. We've got fantastic food places here, artisan food places, lovely independent shops, friendly people and just beautiful scenery. What's not to love? And I would love to live here. Can you tell us a wee bit, first of all, the name of Ursa Minor, where did that come from?
So the name Ursa Minor comes from the owners, Ciara and Dara. Whenever they were pregnant with their first child, they would refer to the bump as Little Bear. Ursa Minor work then came from that fairly shortly after. I think basically the place they're building up the business as she was pregnant at the same time, so it seemed to sort of match quite well that way. So.
And what are you best known for?
Probably the sourdough bread, the cruffins, which are like I'll show you an example here. It's a sort of croissant dough baked in a muffin tin with various sort of creams and different fillings. You know, today's coconut and chocolate. Croissants as well are a big part of what we do. They're a big seller, and also probably the vegetarian sausage rolls we've started doing. So we've started doing like wee sort of tandoori chickpea or just wee things like that there, wee curried lentil, stuff like that. So. And
tell us about your sourdough. I see maybe the rack behind you is almost empty. Is that because people come early?
People are queuing some mornings from about 8:45 or so. We open at 9 o'clock.
So you're spreading the sourdough love in Ballycastle?
Yes, trying our best.
Very good. So we're here at what I think is one of the best kept secrets, a fantastic lookout point on the Causeway coast. Down here, over my right shoulder, you have a fantastic view of the Carrick-a-Reid rope bridge. So if you don't have the stomach or the nerve to walk across it, you can stand here and take a picture of it. And actually from here you can see how high the bridge is. It's about 30 metres above the water. And Carrick-a-Reid is from the Irish. It means the rock in the road. And you might think, well, what road? It's in the sea. Yeah. It's the road of the salmon. So this was really where the salmon would swim through when they were coming back to spawn in their home rivers. So it was the ideal place for salmon fishery and has been a salmon fishery for since the 1700s. And I think the rope was put up about in the 1750s. And the last commercially farmed salmon was caught there in 2002. And they had to give it up as a bad job because A, the salmon were dwindling, and B, the guy who was farming it, or the guy who was working there, he said it was a 4-person job and nobody wanted to do the job anymore. So it's now a fabulous tourist attraction, and you might be able to see the white cottage that's there. That was the salmon fisherman's cottage where they would, I suppose, hold up when they were out working there. And for me, what's really special about this place is because you can also see how close we are to Scotland. So behind us, well, in the immediate foreground, you've got Rathlin Island, and beyond that then you've got the Isles of Islay and Jura, famous for their whiskies. And beyond, on the left-hand side, you've got the Mull of Kintyre, that famous song by Paul McCartney. So it'll stick in your head now. But yeah, a fabulous spot to get a good view of the coast and see how clean and clear the sea is. We're still in Ballycastle, but we've moved maybe a mile or so from the coast to the industrial estate to visit North Coast Smokehouse. And here they hot smoke salmon and trout from the local area. So we're going to talk to Rory in a few minutes. He's going to tell us a bit about his business, how he set it up and the products that he makes. Hi Rory, how are you?
Hello Claire, come in.
Thank you. Where do you want to stand, over here?
This'll do, yep, this'll be fine. Now.
So Rory, North Coast Smokehouse.
Yes.
When did you start? Why did you start it?
Well, my wife and I lived in New Zealand for a long time, and over there hot smoked salmon is considered a delicacy, and it's something that we didn't think there was much of on the market here. She's from Ballycastle, I'm from the island of Islay, and when we moved back to this side of the world, we thought we wanted to live in Ballycastle, but the job situation meant that we decided we would become self-employed.
Excellent.
So we started the smokehouse. I'd been smoking foods for the large part of my adult life, but in a recreational way, just as a hobby. So we turned a hobby into a small business. We have a number of small-scale smokers, which
are they like ovens? Do they look like an oven?
They're more like a biscuit tin than an
okay.
oven. But I would have 3 of them operating at one time while preparing the next 3, while the previous 3 were getting chilled in this little blast chiller here.
Okay.
And in that way I can keep
keep a flow.
I can keep a flow, but I can tailor my output to how many orders we've got for the week. So
okay, so it really is a hands-on,
absolutely
artisan
handcrafted
product.
That's right.
Well, can you show us maybe?
Well, this is the hot smoked salmon. It differs from what you would normally think of as smoked salmon. Most people would think of cold smoked salmon, which is a raw cured fish, and it gets thinly sliced, and you would typically see it served as a starter in restaurants all over the place. This is effectively it's roasted in a cloud of smoke, so it gets cooked and smoked at the same time inside these little chambers. So we can do them in half sides. That one's destined for a party in Cushendun this weekend.
Oh, maybe tell us the address and we'll get crashing.
The smoked trout's done in the same way. Fillet the trouts, we remove all the bones, and then hot smoke these. So these are all ready to eat. You can eat them hot or cold. More popular than if you're not having a feast. We do most of it in single or double portions. So that's enough for one person. Excellent. We make smoked salt. Which is also a delicious way of flavouring your food.
Do you have some jars for that?
Sure. I'll just show you
a
range of things that we've got. The dulse, salt and pepper, they're all a little goes a long way kind of things. So
like
we sell them
test tubes. I love the packaging. Yeah,
they're nice. And
wow.
So they're convenient for the kitchen, but you can actually, that's exactly right, you can experiment with your food. You can pop these in your handbag if you think that maybe you want to add a wee bit of seasoning to the next
to the bland meal.
But these jars are obviously very popular as well. There's just slightly larger quantities. We work with a local supplier. You may have heard of Broighter Gold.
Yes, up by Limavady.
We buy their oil, and then again a slightly tricky process. I say it's hard to get it to hang on the hook, but we smoke the oil, and that again produces a nice
flavour.
A nice flavoured oil, more for dipping and for drizzling on salads and that sort of thing than for cooking, although you can cook with it, but it's not the best. So we've got the salt, pepper, the dulse, the smoked oil, and then a range of fish that we hot smoke, and between all those things that keeps us busy.
I can imagine, especially when it's such a hands-on process. So here we are outside Ballintoy Church of Ireland. This is probably one of the most photographed and painted churches here on the north coast. And the reason being is, unlike most churches here, it doesn't have a steeple. And the story goes that there was a hurricane here in 1894 that took the steeple off and it was never replaced. And I suppose that's maybe led to the church looking so unique. It was built, I think, in 1813, but it replaced an older structure that was here. But it's just a beautiful, picturesque, whitewashed church. But it replaced a building that was here before, a church that was here before. The graveyard, they reckon that the oldest identifiable gravestone dates from the 1600s. So it's a very ancient place of worship with a fantastic location. Now we're down in Ballintoy Harbour, and Ballintoy again comes from the Irish and it means town of the north because we're on the north coast. What's pretty special about here is that the harbour and the stonework around us is built from limestone blocks, which is what I suppose the cliffs around this area are made from. And in past times this was a salmon fishery, and you can see some of the remnants of that around us. But more latterly, in recent times, it's been used as the location for Game of Thrones, and was the Greyjoy Kingdom of Pike in the Iron Islands of Westeros. So any of you Game of Thrones fans, come down here and you'll probably spot loads of locations that you've seen before. Welcome to the Giant's Causeway, also known as the 8th wonder of the world. As you can see around me, there are 40,000 of these hexagonal basalt columns. I haven't counted them, but maybe when you visit you can. My advice when you come here is dress warmly, no matter if it's summer or not. Come well wrapped up, because I think the Giant's Causeway is best experienced on foot, not from a bus, but my advice would be get out, walk on the stones, take a few pictures, breathe in that fresh air, listen to the birds and have a look at the wonderful flora and fauna that's around here. The stones themselves were formed by molten lava coming out of the ground. People talk about volcanic eruptions. That wasn't what happened here. It was a slow oozing out. If you imagine pouring melted chocolate over a cake, the lava oozed out slowly, and as it cooled, it contracted. And the shape that nature makes when it contracts to cool down quickly is a hexagon. Now they do say that not all the stones are hexagons, but again, come here, find out, and see if you can find some with fewer sides than a hexagon. As you can see by the writing on the roof behind me, we're now at the Old Bushmills Distillery. It's only about 2.5 miles from the Giant's Causeway, and here you can buy whiskey, and here they make whiskey. It's the world's oldest licensed distillery, so the oldest legal distillery in the world, and their license was granted in 1608. And they say that one of the secrets of the whiskey to making it so smooth, first of all, is the quality of the water that comes from the local river Bush, also known as St Colum's Rill, but also the fact that Irish whiskey is distilled 3 times. And the joke goes, to be sure, to be sure, to be sure. Here we are outside Ballyeamon Barn, which is the home of Liz Weir, a local storyteller, and it's set just on the edge of the Glens of Antrim. Fantastic countryside and a very atmospheric building. So I think we're going to go inside. Okay, now we're inside in this lovely space. So Liz, can you maybe tell us what you do here at Ballyeamon Barn?
Well, this is my home for a start. I live on the property. It's a former farm, and I've been here about 20 years. I had a vision to have a place where people could come and share stories and learn about storytelling. So I suppose the best way to describe it these days is a cultural centre. People come here for storytelling and music every week, and they also come for different classes. We've had photography, basket making, all sorts of activities. You know, I think when people come, as well as the stunning scenery outside and the hiking trails, they like to do things when they're out and about. We have the sort of culturally curious tourists, I'm sure you know about them. People who want to learn about folklore perhaps, people who want to learn about arts and crafts. So we do a whole range of things here.
Okay, and I know that you're a storyteller. So maybe can you tell us how you get into that and how you use those skills now?
Well, I've been a storyteller a very long time. I've been storytelling for over about 47, 48 years. I started as a children's librarian and I went freelance about, 30 years ago now. And what I do now is both tell stories and teach other people how to tell stories. And it's just not simply entertainment, obviously. I would tell stories to tourists about the area. Every stone is a story to tell. But we also work with different community groups. Can be, for example, people in care homes, schools, and I'm the director of the Glens Storytelling Festival, which attracts tourists from all over the world to come.
Oh, and when does that take place?
It's usually in October, and it's just terrific. Last year, of course, It was different than the before time. We were always live, but last year we had to do it virtually. So we've got the stunning scenery, which I'm sure you're only too aware of, and we go out and about and we film stories on locations, like with Rathgun Island behind us or with Glenarth Glen here. So it's a perfect place for sharing stories. It's really stories in the landscape.
And it's also true that this is tourist accommodation that you have here as well.
As part of my vision for the place, I wanted to have a place where people could come and stay. So I offered 2 types of accommodation for the budget traveller, the backpackers, people on cycle tours. We've got dorm accommodation, and we've also got a private loft apartment as well for people who want just a wee bit more
So if they want to linger longer and savour the flavour of the Glens of Antrim, then they're well placed.
Good, I might use that in publicity, linger longer and savour the flavour. Very good.
I don't know where that came from then.
But it's great, but you know, that's very accurate because one of the things we do is combine with other activity providers. For example, we've done storytelling, tasty tales and tunes, where we do stories about food and music about food. So we'd work with our local people, and we also tie in with like boat tours around the coast, or we tie in with our local Shane's Horse Farm, which is a great place. So we try and offer our tourists a whole range of activities. Obviously, storytelling's my thing, but storytelling can fit in with so many other activities.
Yeah, it complements so many things, doesn't it? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.